I've decided to ask for divorce after my husband revealed that he found me repulsive the first time we made love. Original post. My husband of 2 years, together 5, and I were invited to my sister-in-law's birthday. We were having drinks, and my husband was getting drunk. He doesn't usually drink, so he gets drunk easily. I love him when he's a little bit groggy because he's very shy otherwise, and he let loose a little. My sister-in-law, husband's sister, calls herself incurably single, and she often laments about not meeting the one. She's very picky, and she's always pointing out the flaws of her dates. Well, she was doing that, and after complaining about her latest hookup, my husband interrupted her. He knew the guy in question apparently, and he disagreed with how she, the sister, perceived the guy. They were sparring for a little, and everyone was laughing because my sister-in-law is a very funny lady, and so is my husband. Finally, my husband told her that she was very high maintenance and always concentrated on the negative things. He then said to take him for example. He found me repulsive the first night we spent together, but he stuck it out and was determined to know me more, instead of throwing me away because he's an adult now and needed to start acting like one. Now look at me. I'm the happiest man on earth. My sister-in-law laughed and told him that's not how she worked. I thought what he said was horrible. The most horrible thing anybody has said about me. And yet nobody of those who were listening in seemed to react at all, like it was a totally normal thing to say. So I just said that I didn't know that's how he felt about me. I remember him going away on a trip the day after we slept together for the first time, and he wasn't available for 3 weeks. I started pondering, was he actually away or did he try to ghost me? On our way home, I asked him if he really went to that trip, and he smiled guiltily and said no. His plan was actually to not see me again. But there was something strong that made him contact me again, and that he was lucky he did because I turned out to be the love of his life. He was starting to fidget in his seat and ask me if something was wrong, and ask, surely you're not hurt by what I said. I told him that is the most appalling thing I've ever heard, and to hear it coming from him? I haven't spoken to him since Saturday. I don't know if I even want him anymore. We have a son together, 18 months old and a dog. I don't want to hurt our son. I'm trying to keep it together, but I just feel so numb. Will time heal something like this, or am I lying to myself? He says he's sorry, and he even cried when he saw me crying. And I only saw him crying once before when his dad passed away. Now for the top comments before reading the update. He could have said, I didn't think she was my type at first, but then I realized she was the love of my life, and that would have been probably fine. But repulsed? That's a horrible thing to say about your wife and the mother of your child. Yeah, this hurt my feelings just reading it. Years and years ago, I was smoking with an ex. We're both high, hanging out, laughing. Suddenly, he sniffs the air, leans in and sniffs me. Then goes, oh, phew. And I'm like, what? And he says to me, I smelled something weird and I thought it was you. It was like, fat girls aren't supposed to smell like fish. I was like, WTF? Never forgot it, lol. People like that suck. They might not say stupid things like that all the time, but they certainly treat you like it. I completely understand how this hurt you. The word repulsive is quite strong, especially to describe someone you love. I don't understand how a person could go from being repulsed by someone to then claim them to be the love of their life in a short amount of time. They're just two polar opposites. I think what appalled me the most is the fact that he said it so casually to his family. Yes, I know he was drunk, but the fact that no one was surprised or shocked to hear that leads me to believe he's talked about this before. If this is the only time he's ever made you feel like this, I think that couples therapy is a must. But if it isn't and he's made comments like this, big or small, I think this might be a bigger problem than you originally thought. Either way, don't let this destroy your confidence. Whatever happens, keep your self-respect and do what's best for you. He said it like 5 times. With a weird grimace like he is trying to taste a milk after expiration date and not sure how it should taste. Oh no, that's horrible. If it were me, I couldn't handle being disrespected like that. I think you should have a serious conversation with him and get his entire opinion of you out in the open. No, but then I fell in love, or it's the best thing I ever did. Just straightforward and honest, even if it hurts. If I'm being honest, it feels like he kind of views you as someone he settled with. Because he said, he stuck it out and determined to get to know you instead of throwing you away because he's an adult now and needed to start acting like one. If that's the case, you can do so much better. In my opinion, it's better to be alone than to be with someone who doesn't see your worth. Move on and find someone who loves you unconditionally, and not because they needed to start acting like an adult. That's exactly how I feel. Is it wrong to refuse to be settled for? Because I refused that. And now for the update. I don't know if this suffices as an update. I'm thankful for your support. I actually thought when I would write here, people would hate me and be against me because I'm moving too fast and throwing my marriage too easily. You can't imagine how happy I am that many of you literally could put themselves in my shoes and see it hurt. Believe me, I know myself and I know my heart. This is neither fast nor repulsive. There is no coming back for me. Maybe it's my pride, and I know pride is a sin for many people, but for me it was like something that broke inside of me, and suddenly I never want to be around my husband anymore. How could a marriage work when I can't even look at my significant other? And the very thought of him ever making love to me again makes me want to throw up. And the fact that he thought it was okay to announce to a room full of people, some of them not even friends or family, that he thought me repulsive. How was that okay? Him sitting there trying to convince his sister that sometimes you have to give lesser people a chance because they could turn out to be the love of their life. I have a totally different view in our marriage. I never thought him to be too good to be with me, and vice versa. We've always been on the same level in my mind. Equals. He has moved out now. Our son is too little for shared custody, so he's staying with me until he's older. I don't know the details yet because I have an appointment with my lawyer on Monday. Right now, I just want to mourn. I feel like he should have told me what he felt and let me decide if I wanted to continue. Our marriage was built on a lie in that he lured me in under false pretenses. I have spoken to my parents, brother, and his family, and they all support me. I'm lucky to have this love in my life. I am so sorry you are going through this. When I read your first post, my heart broke for you. What did your husband say when you told him about the divorce? I hope he's remorseful. He's very hurt, and I feel so guilty for causing him pain, but I can't continue this relationship. He should be the one who should feel guilty for the pain it caused you, not the other way around. I hope he apologized to you and realizes that was cruel. The fact he used the word repulsive is awful. I don't think he should have brought it up in a group setting in the first place, but he could have even said it in a better way. Like I wasn't sure how I felt after the first night. Yeah, even the first date I wasn't super attracted, but there was something there, so I went on another. Anything is better than repulsive. OP, be gentle on yourself. He brought this on himself. Did he just not think you would care? Ridiculous. My first date with my husband went horribly. Like I just kept messing it up. And only one random hobby we both enjoyed saved it. He will tell me it was an awful date, but never once in our decade relationship has he ever described me as repulsive or any other similar term. So no, you're not overreacting, and clearly this is something that would stick with you if you stayed in the relationship. I hope the best for you and your little one. Right, it's one thing to say, I didn't want to be more than friends, but then I realized I couldn't live without her. It's so different from calling someone repulsive. I'm even chill with. She wasn't really my type, but she's so much more than her looks. Even that is a little insulting, but if I knew that was the case, it wouldn't bother me. But letting a secret out like that in public? Nope. I've always been honest with my hubby that when we first met, he was far too skinny for my taste. I'd lose him if he stood the wrong way behind a lamppost, was what I said to my mom. His persistence and patience in the 2.5 weeks between our first and second dates was very hard to resist, and I'm very glad I didn't. I can't imagine using the word repulsive to describe the woman you claim to love. Have you asked him how he'd feel if you told him that he repulsed you? That the thought of being intimate with him made you feel physically sick? If you haven't, you should. You can't help your feelings. He apparently couldn't help feeling repulsed then. You can't help it now. No, I haven't told him that I'm repulsed by him. When I decided that I wanted a divorce, I saw no points in making it more complicated and hurt him back by telling he repulsed me. I think they mean asking him how he would feel if your positions were reversed. And he found out after all this time that that's how you felt, not that you actually do feel that way. Oh, okay. No, I haven't asked him anything. There will be time for talking. I'm just happy he's moved out now. Last story. Update. My 22 female boyfriend's 24 male coworker 32 female won't leave him or I alone. Original post. I 22 female have been dating my boyfriend for almost 5 years. A couple months ago, he started a new job with great benefits. I am so happy for him. His first job out of college gets 3 weeks of paid vacation, a 6-figure salary, extra paid time off in the summer, and a bunch of other great benefits. Well, a couple months into working there, a coworker of his, who I will call Liz for her privacy, took a big liking to him. It started off with normal friendly stuff like chatting and helping him. The day she found out he had a girlfriend, everything changed. She suddenly became very flirty. Apparently, she has asked a million times what I look like, what my personality is, what hobbies I like, and so much more. He always tries to keep their conversation strictly professional. Ever since she started doing this, he has asked to meet for lunch outside of the building more often so that she doesn't bother him in his office. Well, this past Friday, she came into his office asking what he was doing for lunch. He said meeting up with me at a cafe. She immediately jumped and asked if she could join, to which he said he'd prefer to spend it with just me. She then pouted and said, "She can't keep you all to herself. It's not fair." And he told her that she was being inappropriate. About an hour after lunch, I got a follow request on Instagram. It was her. What do? I feel bad that my boyfriend feels chased out of his office during lunch because of her. He's already talked to HR, but what happens if she escalates? Edit, I'm very worried she will show up at my job. I'm a personal trainer. Finding my social media is not very hard, and if she found my Instagram, I'm sure she has seen my profession. Most of his coworkers know me. However, I don't know if I feel very safe to do that. She has already shown that she's bold. When he showed her a photo of me on his desk, after she asked what I looked like for the billionth time, she became very sour. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like she was hoping that I was ugly. I don't like to be big-headed, and I'm only mentioning this because it's relevant, but I would consider myself attractive. I'm in shape and pretty, so I guess seeing that upset her. She apparently was super passive-aggressive and insecure for the rest of the day. Going out to lunch with her makes me afraid she'd do something towards me. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Make sure he keeps escalating to HR every time she crosses the line. In the meantime, have him keep very detailed records and have screenshots of any attempts she makes to contact either of you. Just know these things don't always work out the way we want them to, so have him be prepared to have to find another job, as unfair as that sounds. Knock on wood, but I don't think they would let him go. He's been there for 6 months and has been promoted twice because of the success it brings to the company. The company is also massive. They are one of the top entertainment companies in the world, so a story about them ignoring harassment would really hurt their image. Thank you for the advice. I would take advantage on that. He's valuable and they care about their reputation. If she doesn't stop soon, tell your boyfriend to tell HR that he will be making a police report on her and see what they do next. She's harassing him and creating an uncomfortable work environment. See what they do next. I was faced with a similar situation prior while I was with my ex. My older female coworker was making incessant passes at me, and HR wasn't doing anything. The next time she approached me to smack my butt, I stopped, looked her dead in the eyes and said, "This is blatant sexual harassment and it's making me feel very unsafe." Thankfully, she stopped after that. I'm so sorry that happened to you. The very last thing we have is blatant honesty. If your boyfriend feels unsafe, he needs to raise as many flags as he can because that's not okay. My best wishes to him. Thank you. I feel terrible for him. His first job out of college is a major success he worked so hard for, and she is spoiling it for him because she's a creep. I hate that he feels chased out of his office at lunch. It's just not fair. And now for the update. Some of you may remember my post from about 2 or 3 days ago. Well, after my boyfriend and I read some of your advice, we decided to use some of it. I just want to cut to the chase so people who don't care don't have to waste their time. She was given an official warning and moved to a different department. When my boyfriend went to work on Tuesday, he asked HR for an emergency meeting at lunch. During the morning, as presumed, Liz came to his office. She tried the same tactic as last time and said something like, "So, is she gonna finally start sharing you lunch this afternoon?" My boyfriend firmly told her, "Liz, this is not a professional conversation and I am uncomfortable. Please stop and leave my office unless you need something related to work." She got pouty and said, "Why can't you loosen up a little? I just want to spend time with my favorite coworker." And he said, "Please leave unless you have something work-related, because I'm uncomfortable." When lunch rolled around, instead of seeing him like usual, he had his meeting with HR. During the meeting, he presented a screenshot of her follow request to me and mentioned times that she had made him feel uncomfortable. Apparently, the HR team looked like they started sweating when he said he felt sexually harassed by her and promised him the situation would be fixed. We have no idea what happened during her and HR's meeting, but we know that she's moved to a different department and received a warning. My boyfriend and I are very much relieved. Thanks for all the people who commented trying to help us. Edit? Sorry, forgot to add this. My managers are fully aware of the situation and were super great about it when I told them. If she comes in, highly doubt it, and makes a scene, she will be immediately removed. Glad this got a happy ending to such an uncomfortable situation. Most times in my area, HR doesn't do anything. Depends what trigger words you use and if it's documented on paper. Once you put things in writing to HR and hit the sexual harassment words, if they don't take any action to alleviate the situation, it's a simple liability case if it continues. Keep us updated if she shows her butt. I very much doubt she will, but it's always good to take precautions. She's desperate for attention, but I don't think enough to embarrass herself that intensely. At least I hope not. You'd be surprised. I can't even fathom how she wasn't embarrassed the first couple of times being rejected for lunch by her boyfriend, and him tell her to leave him alone. More than likely, she just doesn't care. Honestly, good point. I'm just happy that my boyfriend can now eat in peace and feel comfortable in his office. Update. My 26 female husband's 30 male best friend, 29 male, just kissed me and I'm unsure of what to do. Original post. I'm an immigrant that recently relocated to another country to be with my husband after being long distance with him for several years. Needless to say, my husband is my best friend and I love him deeply. Because I've struggled making my own friends here, I'm on friendly terms with my husband's friends. They're all for the most part decent people and welcomed me with open arms, which I'm grateful for. We all occasionally hang out and it's never really been an issue. Recently, I began planning a surprise party for my husband's birthday, and I figured I would reach out to his friends about planning to see if they wanted to help. Enter my husband's best friend, Adam. Adam has been my husband's friend for about 10 years now. He is married with a wife of his own who I am friends with. Adam immediately was very supportive of my ideas and was insistent on helping. Many times he offered to drive me around the city to go to different stores, since my husband and I don't have a car, which I would decline since I didn't want to cause him any hassle. He would offer to use his place of work as the location for the party. He works at a fancy restaurant. Again, I would decline because my husband isn't the type of person to enjoy birthday celebrations like that. But I would let him know I appreciated his kind offer and that I felt he was being a very kind and generous friend. He was fairly persistent, but I figured it was just because he wanted to make his friend's birthday memorable. Fast forward to this week. Adam texted me and told me he had his birthday gift for my husband, but that he would need help loading it up in his car. I asked about what it was, but he just said a joke about how I would tell my husband so I couldn't know. I didn't think anything of it and agreed to help him today. We drove to the store, got the gift, wrapped, but it was big and heavy, and drove back. He put the car in park, and as I started getting out, he reached out to me and kissed me. I was taken aback and immediately pulled away. I asked him what he was doing, and he said that he thought I was cute and he wanted to shoot his shot. I asked him about my husband, and he said that he didn't need to know. I was just overwhelmed and couldn't begin to wrap my mind around what was happening. He apologized and said he thought I was sending signals because of me saying he was a kind and generous person. He then said that my husband can't know about it because my husband would blame me and would divorce me, and I'd have to go back to my home country, etc. I got out of the car and just went inside. My husband was at work, so he doesn't know. I have a lot of conflicting feelings. I know I want to tell my husband because of how Adam went about this proves that he doesn't have my husband's best intentions in mind and is incredibly selfish. My issue arises in how to go about telling him. I am super upset about this whole thing because it's a weird place to be in. I doubt my husband won't believe me because we have good trust in each other, but I am nervous as to how this will affect the relationship. I'm nervous he will redirect those feelings of betrayal towards me. If that's the case, would it be justified? I just need some guidance on how to approach this for minimal damage to my husband. I know it's bound to happen, but I obviously don't want to hurt him if I can. I appreciate any advice. Edit: I have seen everyone's comments saying to tell my husband the truth. I am planning on telling him when he gets home. However, there seems to be some confusion as to what I'm asking for here. I know I want to tell him, but I am unsure how to tell him without it having an effect on our relationship. My husband is a good man, but no one wants to be the bearer of bad news that their friend that they have known for years is an awful and manipulative person. I don't know how to breach the subject in a gentle way. I tend to let my emotions get the better of me, and this event has me thinking rather compulsively. I don't want to hurt my husband more than necessary. Any advice on how to tell him would be appreciated. Depending on what happens, I'll update when I can. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I had an acquaintance hit on my girlfriend in my own house. I caught him following her downstairs when he had no reason to be there. He was surprised and mumbled a few words, and my girlfriend was also surprised as she was confused as to why he had followed her. Needless to say, that guy was no longer welcome in my home, and I only ever saw him once again and simply ignored him that one time. I would tell your husband so that you can control the story. This dirtbag may lie to others about you, or maybe even to your husband. He has already demonstrated that he has no integrity. I would want my wife to come to me when these things occurred. It's one thing to have a strange man hit on your woman, but it's something else completely when a friend pulls this nonsense. Show your husband these responses in Reddit and ask him what he would want his wife to do. Were you upset with your girlfriend or hold any ill feelings? Did it have any impact on your relationship? I am nervous that this will cause trust issues that are unneeded, as I love my husband very much. I don't know how to assure him that I didn't warrant this. Should I also maybe show the texts between his friend and I? I wasn't upset with my girlfriend. I was upset with the guy. It did make me more aware of this risk. My girlfriend was attractive, and I knew she received attention from men regularly when she worked in a restaurant. So, the event did cause me to be more aware of how real this type of thing is. Men propositioning attractive young women. Although I never assigned any blame to my girlfriend. One thing that my girlfriend didn't do, which I would recommend to you, she didn't apologize or assume any responsibility. None of it was her fault, so she felt no need to apologize for anything. Going downstairs, not being aware that he was following her, etc. This really cemented the fact that she played no part in it. It would have felt weird if she had apologized. So no, I never felt that she did anything wrong. Now, if he had been down there alone with her trying to make advances, and I found out through someone else, or if the guy had mentioned it to me, twisting the story, I would have been suspicious, and it could have eroded some trust in my girlfriend. The main thing for your husband is that he understands that this guy is a snake, and that you need him to understand this, so that he doesn't give this guy any opportunity to stab him in the back again. You must risk sharing the story so that your husband understands the snake's true character. He also needs to know so that he understands that you don't ever wish to be around him again, so he doesn't wonder why you may avoid certain social settings. You have texts where he admits it? Not where he admits to kissing me, but more to show that I never flirted or gave him signals outside of being friendly towards him. Tell your husband ASAP, before Adam tries to change the narrative and get your husband to side with him. Adam was stupid and disrespectful to you, your husband, and his own wife by making a move on you, then turning around and trying to say you gave him signals. I would be very wary around him, and I worry what actions he would take to cover his behind. You need to protect yourself. This was also what I was worried about. Adam seemed a bit unhinged when I didn't reciprocate. It is concerning. I will tell him tonight when he gets home. Now for the update. Hi everyone. It's been a doozy over the last few days and my post wasn't really all that popular, but I figured I'd update for those that may be curious. Before I go into big details, I just wanted to say thank you for your advice. My husband came home a few days ago and I surprised him with his favorite meal. I had a day off and was a ball of nervous energy, so I had cleaned the house, did laundry, and cooked. Basically, I wanted the environment to be as stress-free as possible for my husband because I knew it was going to be hard on him. So, we sat down to eat, and he had been able to tell lately that something's been bothering me and he asked me what was going on. I told my husband as gently as I could, and he was understandably upset. Thankfully, Adam didn't get to him before I did, and he believed me. I know a lot of people were worried about Adam telling my husband lies about what had actually happened before I was able to, but this didn't happen, thankfully. He was really mad at Adam for kissing me, but especially mad at him, threatening me with deportation. We talked it through, and after a few hours, came to the conclusion that in order to protect my residency, we would file a police report for assault against Adam. Thank you to those who suggested this. As we talked, Adam sent me a text message that said this: "Hey, I just wanted to check in on you to make sure you remembered what I said to you in my car yesterday. I really don't want you to go back to home country. I've also been thinking of you. Call me when you get this. We have things we need to talk about." Yeah, creepy stuff, plus low-key threats. It had my husband seeing red and me feeling scared, so we went to the police station the same night I told him. They seemed freaked out by Adam's most recent text and agreed it seemed like a veiled threat. So I filed a police report and they are investigating. As other Redditors pointed out, I wasn't the only victim in this situation. The next day, I texted Adam's wife when I knew Adam was working to see if she wanted to meet up, and she said sure. So we met up and I told her what happened. I showed her the text and sadly she didn't take it too well. It's understandable, but this is what I was worried about. She seemed to think that I flirted with him, called me a homewrecker. I know this was probably out of lashing out, but it still made me feel bad, both for her and me, for Adam putting us in this situation. It's sad I lost a friend. Shortly after I met with his wife, Adam started blowing up my phone, but I didn't answer. I assume his wife confronted him or the police called him. I'm not sure what set him off. He then sent me a bunch of texts that just got crazier and crazier, to the point where I didn't feel safe. So, I called my husband who was at work, and he told me that Adam was also blowing his phone up too. We ended up calling the police, because Adam was threatening to come to our apartment and do what he should have done when I was in his car. Satisfying ending, sort of. He was detained by police for making what they deemed a credible threat against me. It's still an ongoing situation, and I'm a bit upset by how this whole thing essentially blew up. But at least my family and I are okay. The most important thing I'm focusing on is recognizing that what happened isn't my fault, and that I'm a victim here. Also, therapy going forward. Overall, this experience has shown me how quickly people can change once they don't get their way. If you had told me a week ago that Adam was a nice guy trademark, I would have laughed at you. As we went through Adam and I's very few interactions, my husband agreed that there weren't any mixed signals. Adam had completely made it up in his head, or as some of you pointed out, was trying to take advantage of a woman in a vulnerable position. I am fortunate that I got the support and protection I needed. It's certainly a great way to start off a new life in a new country, that's for sure. Anyways, I wanted to say thanks for all the comments and support my last post got. My husband read the post and was thankful that I wasn't dealing with the situation by myself. Thanks, Internet. Also, shout out to my husband for literally handling this in the most amazing way. Lucky to have him, so give him some internet love. Edit, I'm seeing some people saying negative things about Adam's wife. I feel it's important to remind people that she is just as much of a victim here as I am. Adam and her have been together for a lengthy period of time, and it makes sense that in her hurt, she would lash out on the person closest. Adam's wife was very kind to me, and the first friend I made in the country. She would check in on me daily and invite me to meet her friends, cook food for me, helped me find work, etc. She has never once been malicious towards me, and I see no reason to believe she will start now, and I hold no ill will towards her either. In fact, I hope she's able to find peace, because she did not deserve what Adam did to her and their family. The only person in the situation that deserves your negativity is behind bars currently. Please be respectful to her, as she holds a place close to my heart. I'm so sorry you've been through this. My blood is boiling for you. Adam is a predator, and I just wanted to be another person reassuring you that you did nothing wrong in this situation. Wishing nothing but the best for you and your husband. Thank you. I'm thankful I posted on Reddit for guidance. I think my husband and I were a bit too close to this situation, and would have tried to explain Adam's behavior away. It was Reddit that made me realize that that was a viable option. Forever grateful to this site. I'm so glad that you're okay and that your husband is very supportive. You definitely did the right thing by contacting the police. If y'all haven't, make sure to get a good security system for your home and property. At very least, put security cameras at all of your doors if you can. Make a habit to check for trackers on your vehicles and such. You may want to consider moving to a new place if that's possible. I'm sorry that you're having to deal with Adam. I wish you all well. My husband mentioned a security camera, but we are moving soon anyway, so we aren't sure if it's wise. I didn't think about trackers or anything. Do you know if there's a common place where people like Adam store them? I'm glad you filed a report against him. Who knows how many other women he has forced with threats into situations they don't want to be in. Also, kudos to your husband for being your rock. Being kind to someone is not flirting. There were no signals. It was clear he was trying to manipulate you from the start and trying to trick you into his car. I am glad it didn't go worse for you, because his threat makes it seem like he had something much worse than a kiss planned. Hopefully you make more friends in your community. Good luck. This was something the investigators said. I don't want to say much for risk of saying too much, but they seem to think he's done this type of thing before. I'm just thankful that I have the support system I do, and the law enforcement took me seriously. Last story. My 31 male, wife 34 female, loves her best friend 38 male and wants him to join our relationship. Not sure what to do. As the title says, my wife wants to add her best friend to our relationship. We just moved to her home state, which I do not know very many people. Wife had introduced me to family and friends she grew up with, and most of them are amazing. But when she introduced her best friend, I noticed a connection between them. They never dated in the past, but you could tell there was more than just friendly feelings. We have all hung out with each other, drank on a few occasions, and all got along. Just not so friendly looks between them every time we did. A few months go by, and wife started to get secretive with her phone. Closes out of Snapchat when I come by her, and changed her lock code. No, I was not trying to snoop. My phone was dead and was using hers to call a friend of mine. Enough backstory. Well, last night she asked me if it was okay if she was shared. Confused by the question, I asked, "What did you say?" She repeated herself while kissing on me. We have never done anything like that in our 8 years of being together, and I told her I would have to think about it. Then I asked her, if I were to share her, did she have someone in mind? And she said Dean, her best friend. I got jealous and angry, and started to bombard her with questions, which she got quiet and didn't answer them. Most of them being if she wanted to be with him instead of me, or did you want a threesome or a whole relationship? She didn't answer, which led me to believe she wants more than just a hookup. That was last night. I left the house and turned off my phone. Drove around for 3 hours, and eventually passed out in my car at a rest stop just out of town. Once I turned my phone back on, I had 32 missed calls, and over 100 messages, and Facebook Messenger messages. I haven't been home yet due to working today. I just don't know what to do. What should I do? Leave my wife or let her best friend in our relationship? Now for the advice. What you should not be doing is agreeing to let him join your relationship for the sake of satisfying your wife. That will ruin you if you're not into that sort of thing. You have zero obligation to go through with it. In a nutshell, what's happened is that your wife has been emotionally cheating on you. She developed strong enough feelings with this man to the point where she wants to act on her temptation. If she outright asks, "Hey, mind if I slept with this guy?" the obvious answer is going to be no. So instead, she needs to mask the idea of as /open relationship to get what she wants. Hypothetically, if the three of you did, it's pretty clear that the only motive behind it is because she wants to sleep with him. This won't be about the two of you. It will be all about her and this man. Ruin you. I'm glad you didn't say ruin your relationship, because this is the kind of thing that really can send someone down a multi-year struggle. Relationship is already ruined. Yeah, this kind of thing has a habit of sucking life out of a person. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I'm not going to tell my ex-brother-in-law to stop spoiling our daughters? My ex-Di, 44 female, divorced when our daughters, Stacy 17 female and Emily 14 female, were young. About a year after the divorce, he passed away. My ex was paying child support, but that stopped the day he died. The girls inherited their father's estate, but since he was fresh into his career, it wasn't much. Things could have been rough as a single mother, but his brother stepped into his shoes. They took the girls on the weekends and basically bought the girls anything they needed, from clothing to school supplies, and bought our groceries. They also indulged the girls every whim. Stacy loved horses when she was little, so Uncle John paid for her lessons and riding fees. Emily thought she wanted to play the piano, so Uncle Jeff paid for her lessons and bought her a piano. When the girls grew out of those phases and got interested in something else, their uncles were there ready to indulge them. I tried talking to the uncles about not spoiling my girls, but they said that their nieces needed to explore their own interests, and those explorations will help their brain developments. I disagree, but was not in a financial situation to push too hard because they were paying so much for the girls. I was basically responsible for only the rent. I later remarried to a wonderful man who brought 2 kids into the family. We had 1 more kid together, and things are good for the most part. However, kids are smart, so my daughter's step and half-siblings started to notice their sisters having more experiences and things than they do. My husband didn't like the situation, and we had some arguments about it over the years. Things came to a boiling point recently when we were discussing how to pay for our 2 oldest kids' colleges, Stacy and her stepbrother Rick, 18 male. Both are good students, and while they haven't gotten their acceptance letters, I have no doubt they'll get into good schools. My husband and I make enough money to live a middle-class lifestyle with 5 kids, but not enough to put them through college. The reality is that they'll have to take out school loans. We talked to both of them about loans, and this is when I found out Stacy had already talked to her uncles, and they're paying for her tuition and cost of living wherever she wants to go. This floored us and made my husband extremely mad. He got red and started to scream how it's not fair Stacy and Emily will get to go to expensive colleges and graduate with no loans, while our other kids will have to go to state schools and take out loans. He wanted me to call John and Jeff to tell them to stop spoiling the girls. On one hand, I agree 100% with my husband that is not fair to my other kids. But on the other hand, I can't hold my daughters back from something so wonderful. In the end, I told my husband I'm not going to tell my ex-brother-in-law to stop spoiling our daughters. Was I wrong to tell him that? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not a hole. Your daughters shouldn't miss out from their paternal relatives just because your husband and the other children might be super jealous. Those other kids have something your oldest girls don't. Their dad. You'd be a gigantic a-hole if you were anything besides grateful for the generosity of your former husband's brothers towards your oldest children. Your daughters will never ever forgive you if you sabotage their chance to graduate without debt. Nor should they. That would be an incredibly cruel and spiteful thing to do to your children. And ironically, your husband's bitterness is making him short-sighted about the other kids' well-being. Having your girls' uncles assume the financial burden for their living expenses will free you up to help the other kids where you can. Finally, is it normal for your husband to get red and scream about financial stress or the realities of a blended family? The substance of his demands, that you sabotage your kids' opportunities, is unacceptable itself. But the way he's expressing himself is also creating an atmosphere of fear and distrust. Personally, I wouldn't consider him a wonderful man until he agrees to therapy to figure out how to cope with his frustrations without harming his family. The truth is, there's not going to be very much for the mom to do. The daughter is 17 and will select whatever college she wants to go to. I'm assuming she'll be soon 18. At the end of the day, if she chooses a college and her uncles pay for it, there's not going to be anything OP can do about it. Not a-hole for telling your husband that, but it's not really spoiling them. They've stepped up to be the father their brother couldn't be. Not a-hole. It's not fair. It's not fair that a grown man is having a temper tantrum. It's not fair as putting this on you. But most of all, it's not fair that he sees the girls as having luxury when really it's compensating for the loss of their father. I'm sure you'd all trade that money in a heartbeat to bring him back. It's not just the husband. Keep in mind that OP calls it spoiling. She's an a-hole for thinking that all these years. Now for the update. Thank you all for reading my post and answering my question. Things have gone downhill and I'm now crushed. I was at work And without my knowledge, my husband called John and yelled at him to mind his own business, told him we don't want their money and to stay out of our lives. My husband then went and yelled at the girls as they packed their bags and as they were leaving for their uncles. When I got home, my husband wanted to call the police to report them as runaways, but I talked him out of it. I went over to John's house, and his wife led me to the kitchen where we stood in silence watching John holding my girls while they cried. For a minute, I pictured their father holding them. Stacy and Emily refused to talk to me when they walked past me on their way upstairs to their room. John and I had a long conversation about the whole situation. He basically told me he's doing what his brother couldn't, and both me and my husband can go to hell if we don't like it. He said the girls should stay with him and his family until things calm down, and I agreed. So this is where we are for now. Also, to answer some common questions, 1. My husband makes less money than I do, so he's been unable to save up college tuition. 2. His ex is still in the picture and have visitation rights. She makes less money than him, so have nothing saved up, much less tuition. Next story. Am I the a-hole for defending my husband after a prank went horribly wrong? My husband, Jaden, 26, loves jokes and pranks and stuff. I'll admit I'm not one for them and find most of them dumb, but our daughter Lucy, 5, loves them. They basically do a bunch of stupid pranks to each other. And to be fair, Jaden does keep it harmless. Last month, we got some realistic-looking spider toys with other decorations. Since we got them, Jaden and Lucy have basically taken turns putting them around the house to scare each other or me. I honestly find it annoying, but the two of them love it. Lucy does usually get scared, but when she realizes what it is, she laughs and finds it funny or tells her dad off. It's actually adorable when she tells him off though. And Jaden always pretends he's scared, even when she gives it away beforehand by giggling and watching him. So about 2 weeks ago, Jaden said it to fall on her when she opened her toy box in the playroom. Lucy didn't open it, and apparently he forgot about it. Later that week we had my family over, including my brother Leon, and my nieces, Tara 3 and Zoe 6, over. Zoe was badly bitten by a spider when she was younger, even had to go to the hospital. Since then, she's deathly afraid of them. I would go as far as to call it a phobia. The kids went to play and the spiders fell on them. Zoe completely freaked out and just melted down. We came down and saw what happened. Jaden did apologize and tried to cheer her up, but Leon was furious. He basically accused us of doing it on purpose and that we should know better, and just called us a-holes. We did apologize and explain that it wasn't meant for Zoe, but my brother did not listen to him at all. Leon left early with my sister-in-law and nieces, and the whole night was kind of ruined. I've tried to talk to him after, but Leon is still pretty angry with us. It's been a week and he's still acting like we tried to murder Zoe. I've tried explaining again that it was an accident and mistake, but he basically thinks it's too convenient a mistake, and that if it is, Jaden is still an a-hole for being so immature, and I'm an a-hole for defending him. So now he basically refuses to see us unless Jaden is banned, which is ridiculous. I do feel bad that it went so wrong, and I understand that it was a horrible mistake, but it wasn't meant to happen. It was meant to be for Lucy, who likes these stupid pranks. I think Leon's overreacting and he thinks I just don't really care about my niece. Not the a-hole. You've apologized and explained what happened. If he still wants to be mad, then leave him to it. Yeah, that's true, but I would rather him come around. I would like to have my nieces around, and my husband does love all the kids. Him being banned isn't great in any way. I'm sorry, but pranks go bad sometimes. It sucks, but that's just the way it is. Those that prank other people risk alienating those who hate pranks or who are hurt by the prank. Your husband and daughter need to learn this lesson. It may take years to heal this relationship if it ever does. That is life. This isn't really a prank gone wrong though. It was Opie's own home that relatives were visiting. They just happened to have spider toys around. I get a phobia, but when you go to someone's house, you can't expect them to clear away everything you're afraid of. The bottom line is that it's sad she was scared, but it's no one's fault, and the brother just needs to get over himself and maybe work with the child on their fear to try to make it easier for her. Not stay whole in any way. It was a set of unfortunate circumstances, but nothing ill-intended for anyone. And I don't think pranks mean cruel intentions either, or that a prank automatically means cruelty or ill-intended, whether or not parties are in agreement. Hopefully Leon gets over it for the sake of his child, because I think he's making the phobia worse for the kid by acting this way. Not the a-hole. Your husband and daughter do these silly little japes as a bonding thing, And really, hiding a toy spider is so tame in comparison to what I expected when I saw the prank in the title. It's unfortunate Denise happened upon it, but stuff like that happens, and her dad is definitely overreacting. He doesn't get to dictate your family dynamic, and he doesn't get to push such ultimatums on your family either. I definitely agree. While it's dumb, they love it, and it helps them have fun. I know Jaden really ramped it up with her during the lockdowns and helped them. I do wish he hadn't forgot and we avoided this. But I agree Leon is being too much. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not going to my sister's birthday party because she refused to apologize for ruining my reputation? I, female 28, have a younger sister, Jody, female 23. So, Jody is a single mom. She has a daughter, female 6. I frequently help her out by picking up my niece from school and babysitting for a few hours for free so that Jody can work. Jody lives with our parents and a boyfriend, male 26, who she's been seeing for a couple of months. In early October, at one point, Jody accused me of using the family computer in our parents' home to go on gambling websites and signing up with our mom's debit card while I was babysitting. I told Jody that's not true at all and asked her why on earth she would think that. Jody explained that money was disappearing from our mom's bank account and that she checked the computer's browser history and that gambling websites came up. To be honest, I was kind of offended that Jody would think I'd do something like that. I've never had a gambling problem and I've never stolen from anyone. I told Jody that that's awful, but that it wasn't me who did it. She didn't believe me and went and told a load of our extended family that I was apparently stealing our mom's money to go on gambling websites. And now they all think I'm a horrible person. And many of them have blocked me on Facebook. Anyway, the next week Jody got back in touch with me. She said that she found a gambling website on her boyfriend's phone and connected the dots. And he admitted that it was him who was stealing our mom's money and going on gambling websites. However, Jody refused to apologize to me for jumping to conclusions and basically ruining my reputation with our extended family. Sure, I never speak to them anyway, but it's still a terrible reputation to have, especially when it's undeserved. Jody said that it's my own fault, because apparently, I acted guilty and said that I got too defensive when she accused me. Later in October was Jody's birthday and she had a big party with our extended family. I decided to give Jody her gifts a couple of days before, but refused to go to the party. I didn't want to go because I didn't want to deal with all the questions and judgment, and I was still really angry at Jody for not even apologizing for what she did. My parents are understanding, but Jody said I'm an a-hole for not attending her party and that if I'm going to be that way, then I shouldn't bother being part of the family, and accused me of being petty. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If Jody and her boyfriend are still together and part of the family, then everyone but you is an a-hole. They are still together, but her boyfriend is now in therapy and going to gambling addiction support groups. I would divorce my husband without hesitation if he stole from my parents like that, but I suppose it's a step in the right direction. Not the a-hole. Your sister sure is, and possibly your parents. Honestly, I would go either low contact or no contact with your sister. She is sure quick to blame you for something you didn't do. I wonder what else she can blame you for. Oh, and then she is pretty much kicking you out of your family? What makes her in charge? Question: do your parents know that you didn't do this? If so, haven't they stuck up for you? You said that they are understanding. I'm assuming as to why you didn't go to your sister's birthday party, yet they don't have you back at all? Couldn't they reach out to those extended family members and set them straight? Jody said I'm an a-hole for not attending her party and that if I'm going to be that way, then I shouldn't bother being a part of the family. Oh, and they're okay with your sister pretty much kicking you out of your family? My parents know I didn't do it, and tried to reason with Jody before she announced it to our extended family, but she didn't listen to them. They didn't want to try to persuade our relatives otherwise without Jody confirming it wasn't true to them, because they were worried it was going to make me look worse, and like they're enabling my fictional gambling addiction. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-husband's son that my daughter is not his sister? My ex-husband's son, Carl, was born during the course of our marriage, and I was in a vulnerable space, so it didn't make sense for me to leave. Carl's mother got institutionalized a few months after he was born, and my ex got full custody. Now, I wasn't a mom to him at all, just a responsible adult who cooked meals for him, kept him safe, and looked after him when he was sick. I finally left my situation when Carl was 3, and I still babysit Carl sometimes because I'm the only one he feels comfortable with other than his own daddy. Now, after struggling with infertility for years, I had a surprise baby with my friend Will. It was a shock for both of us, but we decided to embrace the gift and co-parent together. Will is my best friend, and his son Aiden, 5 years old, is a doting big brother to my daughter, now 7 months old. The other day, I was babysitting Carl for a few hours. With the kids, Carl and Aiden got into a fight over my daughter. Carl told Aiden that my daughter was his sister and not Aiden's. I gently explained to him that even though he was not my daughter's big brother, he could definitely be her buddy. He was inconsolable, and I had to tell him that Aiden was indeed her big brother. My ex is furious with me for telling him that my daughter isn't his sister. He thinks that my comments were harsh and inappropriate for a 5-year-old. But I think that my comments were okay. I don't want to confuse a little boy and create expectations and disappointments down the line. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. The only way this child could have come up with the idea that a babysitter's baby was his sister is if dad was drilling that idea into his head. Not the a-hole. He isn't her brother. Set that boundary now. It's foolish for his father to say otherwise when that simply isn't the fact. Don't allow him to lie to his son. Perhaps work on seeing the boy less. He should be with his family anyway. I'm trying to set that boundary. I have a lot of empathy for the little boy and I care about him. Will and I are on the same page regarding this issue, but my ex refuses to see my reason. I find it odd that you're still talking to your ex, but I digress. You need to set a clearer boundary and cut off the child, or you will continue to have issues with him thinking he's closer to your family than he actually is. I don't talk to my ex. I just babysit Carl when my ex can't arrange childcare. I do it because he's a little kid who needs a responsible adult caring for him while his father isn't around. Update. Husband demanded I change clothes multiple times for our date night, then stormed out when I refused after the 3rd time. Original post. My husband Mark, 37 male, and I, 34 female, have been having a rough few years. We got married in the fall of 2019 after being together for 5 years before then. And of course, a few months after that, the pandemic hit. I had the misfortune of getting a pretty bad case of COVID near the beginning of the pandemic and was hospitalized for 2 weeks, which turned into long COVID. I wasn't completely disabled, but dealt with a lot of the typical symptoms. Extreme fatigue, brain fog, reduced immune system, generally resulting in several bad infections, etc. I didn't lose my job, but did have to take intermittent FMLA, which meant a lot of time without pay. And we racked up $20,000 in debt between the medical bills, not covered by insurance, and loss of some of my income. Although I tried to be mindful of my eating, I also gained 45 pounds thanks to being on antidepressants, several rounds of steroid medication, and not being able to exercise. Through all this, Mark was incredibly loving and supportive. He never said a bad word about my weight, lack of energy, or inability to contribute financially at the same level as before. Finally, last summer, I started to feel a lot better, and most of the long COVID symptoms subsided. I was able to return to work full-time and had energy to work out again. In the past year, we had paid off all our debts and rebuilt our emergency fund, and I have lost 35 of the 45 pounds I gained. The doctor says this is a good place for me to end up as I was borderline underweight before, and I'm now on a slimmer side of a normal/healthy weight. Mark and I hadn't been having many date nights since we got married, between the pandemic, my illness, and then for the past year working to get our finances in order. However, to celebrate my birthday, we decided to have dinner at an upscale bistro, and then go see the Barbie movie, which he actually suggested. This was last Saturday. My actual birthday wasn't for a few more days, but we wanted to go on a weekend. I was excited to dress up, as most of my clothes had gotten baggy and drab during my illness and weight gain. I was finally feeling comfortable in my own skin again. So I decided to go full Barbiecore, pink sleeveless dress, fitted at a top and then flared out, and pink kitten heels with a matching bag. The money for the outfit came from a birthday check from my mom, and she insisted that I spend it on something fun. When I put on the outfit, I felt really pretty for the first time in a long time. Unfortunately and surprisingly, Mark reacted badly to it. He said it looked slutty and attention-seeking, and essentially accused me of trying to get the attention of other men, and that I should cover up more. I protested, because first of all, we were going to a restaurant, table for two, and a movie theater. When exactly was I going to be interacting socially with other men? Also, the outfit was quite dramatic and striking, but it wasn't revealing. Sleeveless dresses are pretty normal date night wear for a hot summer day, and it wasn't low cut. Neckline was at the collarbone and was on the longer side, calf length. But I didn't want to argue, so I put on a black knit cardigan over the dress. Nope, still no dice for Mark. He said it was still attention-seeking. At this point, I really wanted to get going and not miss our reservation, so I gave up on the dress and changed into fitted jeans and a pastel pink tunic top, not fitted. Nope, said Mark. I still looked like I was trying to attract other men. So I threw on a hoodie over the top, but then he said I looked sloppy. I was really exasperated by this point and asked if he just wanted to come to my closet to pick an outfit that was acceptable, and he started yelling that I was too stupid to even understand that I was disrespecting him and that I didn't know how to dress myself. Then he said he was going for a drive and going to the movie without me. The tickets were on his phone. He came home after midnight, said he didn't want to talk, and that he was going to sleep in the guest room. He has barely spoken to me since. My actual birthday was a couple days ago and he didn't even acknowledge it. I begged him to please talk to me and tell me what was really going on, but he said he was still too angry. So am I the a-hole for not trying to change my clothes yet again before our date for my birthday? I still don't know what he was really upset about or what sort of outfit would have been acceptable. And no, he never once tried to make rules about what I could wear or commented at all on my clothes, except to tell me that I looked nice or that he liked certain colors on me. This really came out of nowhere as far as I can tell. And again, he selected a Barbie movie and planned a date, so it's not like I was strong-arming him into plans he didn't want. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Something deeper is going on. Time to have a serious discussion about where you guys are in this relationship. No matter how much my wife are fighting, it would be a truce on a birthday. The odd thing is we haven't been fighting at all. Not a bit. He was so incredibly loving and supportive while I was ill, and over the past year we have gradually gotten back to a more even dynamic, as I was feeling better and better. And until a week ago, I would have said our relationship was stronger than ever for having gotten through the really tough times. Snapping at me over clothes and then digging in and blowing up both my birthday dinner and my actual birthday definitely came out of nowhere. He was incredibly loving when you were feeling sick, overweight, unattractive, and basically housebound. He had locked you away in his goodie box, away from other boys that might want to oogle his favorite toy. Now you're gorgeous, confident, feeling good in your body and about yourself. He doesn't want to chance you figuring out that you could maybe do better, so he got what he wanted. You're back put away in his goodie box and questioning what you did wrong. What you really need to do is get yourself out of the box. You aren't his property. You aren't a reflection of anyone other than yourself. You are strong and confident, and while you love him and are grateful for his support, you deserve better than an insecure little boy who wants to control you and shut you away. A gilded cage is still a cage. Is he cheating on you? Sounds like he was trying to get out the door by himself. Cheating hadn't crossed my mind, but it was odd how he suddenly wanted to pick a fight and then bolt out the door without me. The funny thing is, all day before he saw my outfit, he had been telling me how much he was looking forward to going out and celebrating my birthday with me. That's actually a ploy used so you don't get suspicious when a fight starts and they storm out. A man want to see it alone? Not likely. He sounds like an abuser. You just haven't noticed before now because you've been right where he wants you since getting married. At home, under his thumb, and you gained weight to boot. So he didn't have to worry about you attracting other men. Now for the update. I did end up going to my mom's place for the weekend last weekend and had a nice girls' weekend with my mom and sister. We did see the movie on Saturday and got to wear my original planned outfit, and then got brunch and had a fun salon outing on Sunday. Late afternoon Sunday, I texted Mark, my husband, to say I was coming home in a couple hours and that I hoped he would be ready to talk then. That I would gladly hear him out regarding anything that had been upsetting him, but I really couldn't take the silent treatment anymore as it had been over a week by then. He just texted back, okay. We did talk after I got home, and boy, it was a doozy. It turns out Mark has been building resentment for years, since I first got sick with COVID nearly 3.5 years ago. Not so much in the first few months, but when it was clear my illness had turned into long COVID and an ongoing disability, he started to feel very put upon due to my not being able to generate as much income, not being able to do my share of the housework and cooking, etc. He put up a good front because he knew it wouldn't be fair to take it out on me, especially when he could see I was doing my best to get better and to do what I could on my better days, and ultimately got very burned out. And then after a year or so, started seeking outlets. as in other women. He said at first it was just basically anonymous online thing because the pandemic was still raging. But by early last year, he had formed an online emotional connection with someone in the area, whom he eventually met in person for a physical affair. Someone he is in love with now and still seeing. He said he has been trying to figure out what to do, especially as I have been getting better over the past year, lost most of the weight I gained, got back to fulfilling all my responsibilities at work and the home, etc. But when I walked out in my Barbie-core dress, expecting to have a romantic birthday date, he just couldn't do it. He couldn't go out and pretend to love me and be celebratory when I wanted to be with someone else. So he picked a fight, one I couldn't win. And then yes, when he walked out, he did take his affair partner to dinner and a movie instead. The thing is, I do understand him seeking some kind of an outlet. I was sick for years, and between physical ailments and brain fog, I wasn't able to participate consistently in a marriage on any level, not as an equal partner. We'd only been married a few months when I got sick, so it's not even like we had a lot of shared history to fall back on. I'm sure I must have felt exhausted, stressed, and lonely, especially as it wasn't certain I would be able to recover at all. I asked if he would consider marriage counseling and recommitting to our marriage, but he said sadly that his heart had moved on. He did say he was so sorry, that he never meant to fall in love with someone else and was just trying to be less lonely. And that I didn't deserve this, that I especially didn't deserve the way he treated me a couple weeks ago. So I guess divorce it is. I don't expect it will be very dramatic. We've been talking a lot over the past week. No more silent treatment, to figure out how to divide stuff, and to try to make things cordial. In the end, I don't even think he's an a-hole. Maybe for the way he acted surrounding my birthday, but overall, I think he is just a human being who eventually broke down from stress and loneliness. I do wish him well, and I'm also grateful that at least I am healthy again for whatever life has next in store for me. He's an a-hole, sweetie. He lied to you for like 3 years. You dodged a bullet. Praise Barbie that she removed this man from your life. Yeah, I do hate the lying aspect of it. He says he didn't want to cause me more stress because that could negatively impact my recovery. And he thought it would be more of an a-hole move to leave me while I was sick and unable to fully care for myself physically and financially. I know on some level that's just an excuse for cheating. But it's easier for me not to carry a lot of anger and to try to focus on getting through the divorce and figuring out what's next for me. Please get yourself some counseling or therapy, because thinking it's understandable to be cheated on and lied to and potentially exposed to STDs because you are seriously ill is wow. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, let alone someone I loved, let alone myself. He is a piece of turd. You deserve better than to empathize with a piece of turd, for real. Thank you. You and the other kind commenters here are definitely helping me to see that this behavior isn't understandable or acceptable. Counseling will definitely be part of my divorce recovery. Definitely get yourself tested for STDs as well, just to make sure he didn't give you anything from his infidelity. Your sexual health is just as important as your emotional health. My annual GYN checkup is next week, so I'll be sure to get tested then. Unfortunately, we were still sleeping together several times a week. Guess he was faking his attraction, or maybe I was just there. Hopefully nothing has gotten transmitted. Please do not let this guy convince you he is not the bad guy here. In sickness and in health are part of the vows for a reason. If the situation was reversed, I've no doubt he would have expected twice as much support out of you. You don't cheat. He is 100% the a-hole across the board and has been for many years. Please do not take the blame for this. I wish you peace and healing as you move forward. Thank you. He told me that I couldn't be certain as to what I would have done if the situation had been reversed. I really don't think I would have cheated though. I might have leaned on friends and family, try to get some help if I felt overwhelmed with caretaking, got therapy, etc. But I can't imagine cheating. Especially not physically, not making deliberate plans to meet someone in person after meeting online. Anyway, he wasn't meant to be my person for life. Clearly a fair weather partner, and not someone who would truly honor all the vows. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to take back my husband who left me during a manic episode? Over 2 months ago, my husband told me that he doesn't need me anymore and left me. He claimed he only dated me and married me because he was lonely, had low self-confidence, and didn't really have friends. But now that he has a good social circle and high self-confidence, he doesn't need me anymore, and I'm only pulling him back. I was absolutely heartbroken and went through a really hard time. I'm still not okay, but I'm doing a bit better now. and I'm trying to focus on self-improvement. I made a plan to run a marathon next year and to move to a better country, which my husband was always against, and those two things are what holding me together basically. However, after not talking to me at all for 2 months, my husband suddenly wants me back. He says that he went through a manic episode and that's why he behaved like that. He is seeing a psychiatrist now and claims that he loves me and I'm his everything. I don't know enough about manic episodes to be able to tell if he is telling the truth or just realized life is not better without me, but I don't care. This past 2 months were incredibly hard on me and I just can't do this. Most of my friends agree with me, but 2 of them told me that we were perfect together. And if he had a manic episode, that means he was not in control of his actions. That I should not throw away our future because of his mental health issues. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to take him back? Now for the comments. It doesn't matter what he wants anymore. All bets are off. Focus on what you want. Your 2 friends that said you were perfect together, were they there with you every day you cried? Were they the ones that felt the heartbreak and betrayal? They can buzz right off. Those 2 friends always held our relationship as the gold standard. They had a few bad relationships, had been cheated on, but said that they are not giving up because they see how great my relationship with my husband is, how well he treats me, and they want that for themselves too. When my husband left me, it kind of took away their hope too, I think. It's like they were a bit heartbroken too. I guess with this explanation, they got their hope back. But I'm too scared to even hope. I can't go through this again. Info. Is he on a proper treatment plan for his manic episodes? Is he happy for you to meet his doctors, therapists, etc. so that they can talk you through his diagnosis and what it means for you? Would he consider taking it very slowly and starting your relationship over rather than hopping straight back into marriage? And even if all of the above are true, have you moved on past the point of no return? While he may have been genuinely out of his mind when he left you, it doesn't mean you have to take him back. It's entirely possible that time apart had led you to reassess what you want from life, and it's valid. If you don't want to get back with him for any reason, that's sad, but it doesn't make you a bad person. Yeah, OP is not the a-hole either way. If she still wants him back and is willing to work with his illness, that's okay. Won't be easy, but could work. If she wants to move on, that's also totally okay. If she found out in another way that he was sick and decided to leave him, then she would be the a-hole. But after getting hurt like that, can't really blame her. I suffer from mental illness. I always say that mental illness can explain our actions, but it doesn't excuse it. You were horribly hurt by his abandonment. If you got back together, you would live in fear that he would have another manic break, and it may be too much to handle living with that. And sickness and health doesn't mean someone gets to walk all over you with no consequences. Do what's best for you. Mental illness can explain our actions, but it doesn't excuse it. Perfect. I'm bipolar, and I've lost really strong friendships because of manic episodes that spiraled out of control. That's part of living with mental illness. Whether or not I was in control, it doesn't matter. My actions and or words affected people, and that has consequences. I can't control other people, but I'm also not entitled to their suffering through my bad moments just because I like the good ones.